Where is this? Hey, uh, my name is still Tom Jacobs. I'm on the web at tdjacobs.com and also healingsuicide.com. And I'm an evolutionary astrologer and also an energy worker and a channel. Um, I know I look kind of weird. I'm a little tired, but thanks to the barking dogs in the hallway of this hotel at 11 p.m., little rush of adrenaline. Oh, yes, I would like to do a Trump update. So, anyway, so just thoughts in my head. My girlfriend just pointed out that the transiting nodes just shifted to Gemini Sagittarius, so maybe a little worse stimulation, but mental stimulation. Anyway, a couple of things. I sometimes do these updates on what we might learn from President Trump's example here in the U.S. Of course, around the world, everyone knows who this person is. I do what I can to be compassionate and understanding that every human is, you know, traversing this soul's journey over many lifetimes. And every human has a soul, just like every animal has a soul. And even people who cause harm or are indifferent to each other, people who, whatever, have a lot of negativity, they're all souls just like you and I are. I do have political views, but this is not, where I'm going to share them. But what I want to focus on as an update is like an inverse video. Like, let's do a Trump inverse. So I've done other things on SoundCloud. I think mostly on SoundCloud, like the audio you can look up. If you look up whatever, my name and plus Trump, you'll find several things over the years, starting when he was a candidate for the Republican nomination. So I guess that would be 2015 or 2016. Starting then, and then I kind of dropped off over the last couple of years because everything's very obvious and evident. And I said a lot of things about his chart. But I want to take whatever it is. I'll take a couple things that make me crazy about some of the stuff he does and why he does it. But I want you to think about if there are things in the way he handles things that kind of like really bothers you or makes you crazy. I want to invite you to let that be what it is. Don't judge yourself, but also don't assume that he doesn't have a soul or that he's a terrible, whatever, an evil thing. But I want you to think about the inverse. I want you to take him as an example of how to stir yourself to embody the inverse. So, for example, one of the things that makes me insane is the lying, the constant lying. Okay, well, how can I change my relationship with truth? How can I improve? How can I better? How can I better my expression of certain things, right? But so stuff like that, like whatever bothers you about it, right? But what I want to get at today is that, ignoring experts, trying to make everything about himself. We're seeing, maybe it's not a worst case scenario, but it is tragic. I guess it is. The number of deaths here in the U.S. don't have to be this high. It doesn't have to be this high. And it's because of what he thinks the job is about. And elsewhere, I've done videos or I've done an audio on his Sun conjunct Uranus, conjunct the 10th house North Node, and what that means for his karmic journey. So I encourage you to check that stuff out. I've talked about the South Node is in Sagittarius, conjunct Moon in the 4th house. So there's a lot of like patriotism and tribal thinking and strong beliefs and putting blinders on, Sagittarius, South Node. With strong orientation toward, belief and not taking in data, right? That's a Gemini North Node. So even though he's a Gemini with Uranus conjunct it, he's not open to it. And part of that is because the South Node ruler Jupiter is conjunct Chiron in Libra in the 2nd house. So Libra is where we're very aware of how others see us, especially South Node ruler there, meaning in many lifetimes a deep layer of identity is wrapped up with the opinions of others. But it's in the house of self-esteem and the house of, I don't know if I can do stuff, or I don't think I like myself, or I have to prove to myself that I'm good at something and worth whatever, worth love, worth support, whatever, worth respect. So Jupiter is conjunct Chiron. So there's a woundedness to the self-esteem and taking so seriously how others see him. That's what I want to focus on today. Extending this, or in this video, I think about it all the time, so it's not just today, but extending this thing about vulnerability. Chiron says, I have an energy antenna and I'm vulnerable to how other people will receive me. And in Libra, again, of course, it's about, I'm very aware of how other people will see me. Speaking of that, I cut my hair myself and it's actually okay. Thank God. It was like down to here. It was like this flowing, like volcano of hair that was frozen in mid motion, tickling everything. Anyway, I'm just very self conscious because it's different, and also it's easier to see that somehow these are crooked. These are anyway. I keep bending them, but I keep doing it wrong. So it's much easier to see that because of my locks, my flowing locks, my volcano of amazing, beautiful hair. Anyway, this kind of vanity, right? That's part of his deal, but also appearing strong, putting on a strong face. I even noticed that word he uses strongly. Like other people would use the word seriously. We're looking into this with seriousness or seriously. And he will say, we're looking into this strongly. He's got this whole thing about vulnerability as weakness. He fears being seen as weak, so he's like swinging around this baseball bat to assault everybody, and it is very distracting because he is terrified you'll see him. That's part of the ground I covered in it's called Donnie, a Chiron story, this audio on SoundCloud. And when you go there, you'll see the icon for it, the graphic is a picture of him from 6 years old in like a little shirt and a little sweater from a school picture, presumably. It's kind of humanizing him. So he thinks that vulnerability is weakness, and so he's preemptively attacking everybody to make sure that no one would ever believe he's vulnerable, which means weak. So then when people say, but that's not true, like what you're saying is not true, he has to double down because his whole identity of not being weak is threatened. Because if you're wrong about something, you're a loser, you're an idiot, you're stupid. And he is always, his whole life, he's surrounded by people who are smarter than he is, and he knows it. He's just, I'm not saying he's not smart, I'm saying he's just smart enough. I mean, a 6-year-old runs his life. So it's like, he's not dumb, but a little kid emotionally is running his whole entire life. So there's all the posturing and the playground bullying and all that stuff. So, and honestly, I don't say this to be, my motivation is not to be critical. What I want to say to you is, what do you think vulnerability means? What if you make a mistake? Let's do the Trump inverse. What if you make a mistake? What if you tell people something and they count on you and you're wrong? What do you think about yourself in that case? What would happen if you took responsibility for something and you didn't know what you were doing? What's your relationship with yourself like when you find out you might need an expert opinion? You might need to bring somebody else in who knows different things than you do. Can you still like yourself and think you're worthy of love and support if you don't know something? For a lot of people, that gets into an experience of humility. But if you fear every eye on you, if you fear that anybody can ever see you and you don't think a lot of yourself, every criticism is humiliating. So a lot of people, so let's think about humility versus humiliation. I just got a distance craniosacral session today from this a practitioner that I work with. And before the pandemic, my girlfriend and I were going almost weekly to in-person clinic for Bowen Technique, which is a really gentle, it's not massage, it's really gentle little movements to reset nerve pathways in various areas of your body. And I've had profound results. Well, when we go in for Bowen, I am consistently, it's reflected to me through the process and through the openness of this practitioner how taut and wound up and stressed I am, and how I don't let other people get into my field, into my space personally. Like, it's really hard for me to let people in because I'm dealing with whatever, my own crap, whatever, doesn't matter. But anyway, I got that reflection constantly. So we haven't been to the Bowen Clinic in a couple of months more because the clinic is closed. So I ran into the lady in the store the other day. I was guided to go to the store, and I've been thinking about asking her about distance work if she does it. My girlfriend said she did, but I hadn't talked to her. So I ran into her in Trader Joe's, and like 8 feet apart with our masks on, I said, "Oh, do you do distance work?" And I'll text you. So anyway, so I had this half-hour session today, and I was reminded. I mean, I was shown how unbelievably how I've been holding on to certain tensions. Because in the craniosacral thing, it's like unwinding stress and tensions, so your whole body and your field kind of gets reconnected to each other. It's different than Bowen, but still there's like this reconnection idea and wholeness and integration. So lying there, I'm by myself. She's miles away. I'm in Hillsborough. She's in Beaverton. I'm presuming she lives there. That's where I ran into her in the Trader Joe's, where the clinic is, but she's doing this distance energy work on me, and I'm seeing how taut, how tight and wound up I am. And I'm letting it go, and just these tears start coming, which isn't abnormal for me to cry, but that sense of somebody else was meeting me, and it was very humbling. This lady with expertise has a service. I'm paying her to do it, and I need help. And I'm allowing her to do it. I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable to this expert. So what Trump doesn't do is trust anybody because he's terrified everyone else is smarter than he is and they're going to see he's a fraud. So he doesn't trust anybody. Now his thing isn't, like, I don't trust people because I've been hurt. He doesn't trust people because he's afraid of being humiliated. He's afraid of being seen. So, okay, so that's another thing. So let's say this relationship with your vulnerability is kind of what I wanted to focus on, but something else is coming up now too. Yeah, I mean, what does it mean that I might need help sometimes? What does it mean that you need help sometimes? What does it mean if you have a problem or something that is an issue and you go to someone and you have to say, yeah, I'm having this problem. I need help. Does the fact that you need help from another human mean you're weak? So anyway, so let's like look at what in our lives. Let's do this inverse game. Let's look at what in our lives on a day-to-day basis, triggers us about this person's life or behavior or choices, and really look at our own relationship so that with that energy within us, so we can kind of embrace the opposite in a healthy way. Take it as a cue. And this is how people with 12th house placements quite often can be not just mirrors, but kind of instigators for massive global change. So if you understand 12th house planets, and from your astrology studies and your experience, you'll find that some people in the 12th house, and he has Pluto in the 12th and then Mars right above the horizon in the 12th, both in Libra. I think the rising is really early Virgo, but the Mars is in really late Leo. But the Pluto in Leo is what I want to get at. So people with Pluto in the 12th house sometimes feel lost in the world because they recognize there are forces greater than themselves. Some people get angry and defensive and controlling, like he does, like I do sometimes, because I don't want to be overwhelmed. I put on the 12th too, which is why I see some of the things he does and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I know that crappy, crummy behavior. I know that personality malfunction. Like, I don't do it, but I have nervous laughter because I'm like, oh my God, I'm kind of like that too. I just don't do that. But anyway, you either feel defensive or you feel overwhelmed sometimes. Because in a bunch of lifetimes, You've been shown there's something bigger than you, and you can't win. One of the Trump updates I did a year ago or something, 2 years ago, was called the inevitability, Pluto in the 12th, and the inevitability of submission. And I was saying at that time, if he is impeached, there's like a black mark forever. If he's removed from office, right, that's pretty final. But even if he's just impeached, that's a loss for him, and he'll try to overcompensate and ignore it and spin a story. But this thing about, well, what if you experience the universe saying no to you? Let's move on to another topic. What if you experience the universe saying, no, that's not going to happen? Like something's bigger than you and you can't control it. So what do? Do you lose faith in life? Do you assume that everyone's out to get you? Do you assume that the universe hates you? This is one of my problems I'm working to heal. The paranoia that God is actually like personifiable and is like working against me. It's really loud right now. It's really crazy and it's really hard. It takes a lot of time every day, FYI. But anyway, I'm trying to take this as a cue. What if you feel defeated? What if something doesn't go your way? What if you have a big dream and it doesn't work? That's part of Pluto in the 12th house too, this idea of reaching the masses or connecting in with the collective unconscious. So for him, there's this thing about attempting to be dominant, be in everyone's minds, his name on the tips of everyone's tongue, be constantly photographed and filmed and listened to and interviewed. He's watching TV to see himself, right? He's watching TV all the time to see how they're talking about him. He doesn't care about any policy. It's a reality show for him because he's trying to assert that he matters, right? So if you feel in some situation that it won't go your way, or you had a big idea and it gets stepped on by life or unplugged, or you're the dream, like the cluster of balloons of your dreams either flies away against your will or gets yanked out of your hand, or some cherub with a harp comes up and like pops all the balloons, and your dreams are sacrificed or something for some greater purpose. What do? Do you lose faith? Or do you explore this idea of what is in your highest good that you're actually learning? This is a 12th house teaching. I did a video a few months ago called On Your Highest Good, which check out if you have 12th house planets. So what he will find out is that his resistance creates all the problems. Now, he may not find out as a human, but as soon as his consciousness, whenever this happens, separates from his body, he'll get schooled, like we all do. And he'll understand that the problem isn't that life didn't go his way, because even now, it looks like it is, but it isn't, because he constantly is fighting everything, right? It's not going his way. This is the reason I sat down to do this video, or the reason I was thinking about doing this, and then the dog barking happened and the adrenaline happened, and so I was like, okay, I'll do it, was because I was watching some historian comment on Lincoln and Trump's comments today in some Fox News interview about how he says he's treated worse than Lincoln. Like, yeah. And the news reporter was saying, it's important to finish the books you're reading when you're in school. Anyway, this whole thing about this, and there's no humility. Because there can't be any vulnerability. So there's always this posturing. So anyway, the point of all this is take whatever bothers you and look at your own relationship with that thing in yourself. This is how people can inadvertently in the 12th house be of service. Like for me, I put on the 12th, and I often try intentionally to figure out some way of being of service. I'm trying to do it because I like mystery. I like solving mysteries. I like bringing words to spiritual concepts. I like it when light bulbs go off in your head. I like it when things I channel or teach help you, or you use those ideas to help yourself or like yourself more or judge yourself less. I love that. I love this mystery. I get a lot of gratification out of it. But I'm intentionally trying to do it, and I have my own disempowerment along the way. But Trump is inadvertently being the best example of many things for all of us. So that's what I wanted to give you that idea of. I think if I keep going, I'll just be rambling from adrenaline and obsessing about my hair. It's not perfect. I have this weird shape on my head. I guess it's on this side, I guess. Anyway, whatever. Good night. I'm gonna try to relax and go to sleep. Uh, bye.